Hey, Vikings faithful, Skull Nation, it's time to gather around because we've got heavy hearts today. We're diving into some tough but important Vikings news. The passing of one of our all-time legends, Jim Marshall. This is a moment to honor a man who defined what it means to be a Viking. Are you ready to celebrate his incredible legacy with me? Let's do this. The Minnesota Vikings announced on Tuesday, June 3, 2025, that Jim Marshall, our beloved defensive end, passed away at 87 after a lengthy hospitalization. This loss hits hard, Skull Nation. Marshall wasn't just a player. He was the heart and soul of the Vikings for nearly 2 decades. A true Iron Man who set records and left a mark that still shines in Minnesota. Stick with me as we walk through 10 unforgettable moments of Jim Marshall's legacy, from his record-breaking durability to his unforgettable moments on the field. What's your favorite memory of Jim? Drop it in the comments below, and let's honor this Vikings legend together. Jim Marshall wasn't just a name on the roster. He was a cornerstone of the Minnesota Vikings' early years. Born in 1937, this Ohio State standout didn't come to us through the draft but via a trade from the Cleveland Browns in 1961, right before our inaugural season. Can you imagine the excitement in Minnesota when this beast of a defensive end joined the team? Marshall quickly became a force, anchoring the legendary Purple People Eaters alongside Hall of Famers Alan Page and Carl Eller. His quiet leadership and relentless work ethic made him the guy teammates looked up to. Vikings coach Bud Grant once called him special, and that's no small praise from a legend like Grant. What made Jim stand out in those early days? It was his ability to show up, game after game, no matter what. How do you think a player like Marshall would fit in today's NFL? Let me know in the comments, Skull fans. Let's talk about that Iron Man streak. 282 consecutive games played, including 270 straight starts for the Vikings. That's an NFL record for a defensive player that stood until Brett Favre broke it in 2009. Think about that, Vikings fans. 20 seasons, never missing a game, always ready to battle. Marshall's durability wasn't just physical, it was mental toughness, too. He played through pain, through tough losses, and through the brutal Minnesota winters, all while wearing that iconic number 70. That number is now retired, forever hanging in the Vikings' Ring of Honor. Can you picture what it takes to play 282 games in a row? What's the toughest thing you've ever pushed through as a Vikings fan? Share your stories below, and let's keep Jim's legacy alive. The Purple People Eaters. Those words alone give Vikings fans chills. Jim Marshall was a founding member of this iconic defensive line that terrorized opponents in the 60s and 70s. Alongside Alan Page, Carl Eller, and Gary Larson, Marshall made quarterbacks' lives miserable. Though sacks weren't officially tracked until 1982, Pro Football Reference estimates Marshall racked up 130.5 sacks in his career, 22nd in NFL history and 2nd in Vikings history behind Eller's 133.5. That's the kind of dominance that defined our team's golden era. Can you imagine facing that line as a quarterback? What's your favorite Purple People Eaters moment? Was it a crushing sack or a game-changing play? Drop it in the comments, and let's relive those glory days together. Marshall's stats are mind-blowing, but his leadership was just as legendary. Named team captain for 14 consecutive seasons, he was the guy who led by example. Bud Grant once said making Marshall captain in 1967 was one of the smartest moves he ever made. Without Jim, would the Vikings dynasty have been the same? His 29 fumble recoveries were an NFL record at the time of his retirement in 1979, a mark later tied by Jason Taylor. Every time Marshall hit the field, he brought passion and grit that inspired everyone around him. That's what being a Viking is all about, right? What does leadership mean to you as a Vikings fan? Who's the modern-day Marshall on our roster? Let's talk about it in the comments, Skull Nation. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the wrong way run. On October 25, 1964, against the San Francisco 49ers, Marshall scooped up a fumble and sprinted 66 yards, the wrong way into his own end zone for a safety. It's a play that's followed him ever since, but Jim was always a good sport about it. Here's the kicker. The Vikings still won that game 27-22, thanks in part to a fumble Marshall forced that Carl Eller returned for a touchdown. That's the kind of resilience that defined him. Mistakes didn't break him. They fueled him. Have you ever had a moment where you turned a mistake into a win? What do you think about the wrong way run? Was it just a blip in Marshall's legacy? Or does it add to his charm? Hit the comments and let's debate. Despite his dominance, Marshall's accolades were modest: 2 Pro Bowls and 3 second-team All-Pro nods. Why? Because he played alongside giants like Page and Eller, who often stole the spotlight. But don't sleep on Jim. His 130.5 sacks and 29 fumble recoveries speak for themselves. He helped lead the Vikings to the 1969 NFL Championship and all 4 of our Super Bowl appearances in the 1970s. That's right, Marshall is one of only 11 players to play in every Vikings Super Bowl. How's that for a legacy? Do you think Marshall deserves a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Drop your thoughts below, and let's make some noise for number 70. Off the field, Jim Marshall was just as impactful. He was a quiet leader who lived the ideals of toughness, camaraderie, and passion, as the Wilf family noted in their statement. His influence stretched beyond the gridiron, touching fans and the Minnesota community. Marshall's legacy lives on through his family, especially his wife, Susan, who the Vikings mentioned in their announcement. His love for the game and the team made him a fan favorite, someone we all felt connected to. Have you ever met a Vikings legend like Jim? What's a way we can honor Jim's off-field contributions? Maybe a tribute at US Bank Stadium? Share your ideas in the comments, Vikings fans. The Vikings organization is mourning deeply, and so are we, Skol Nation. The Wilf family called Marshall the all-time Iron Man, and they're planning a celebration of his life. Pictures of Jim are already splashed across the team's X account, reminding us of his towering presence. Bud Grant, who passed in 2023, once said Marshall was the absolute cornerstone of the Vikings. That's high praise from a coach who led us to 4 Super Bowls. It's clear Jim's impact went beyond stats. He shaped the soul of this franchise. How should the Vikings honor Jim at the next home game? A moment of silence, a video tribute, or something bigger? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to say, rest in peace, Jim Marshall. Your number 70 will forever fly high in Minnesota, and your legacy as a Viking is untouchable. From the Purple People Eaters to your Iron Man streak, you showed us what it means to be a Viking. Skol Nation, this is our time to come together and celebrate a legend. Share your favorite Jim Marshall story in the comments, and let's keep his memory alive. What's the one play or moment that defines Jim for you? Hit that like button if you're proud to be a Vikings fan. Subscribe for more Vikings news, and share this video with every Skol fan you know. Let's honor Jim Marshall together. Skol Vikings.